Committee for Canterbury, Aaron Jackson. You're not Aaron at all. You look like Aaron, but you're not Aaron. Mr. Jackson.
Worship the Mayor, councillors, good afternoon. My name's Gary Jackson. With me is Mark Christensen, and I think you're probably familiar with Mark more so than with me. We are here as trustees of the Committee for Canterbury, and in being here I do extend apologies from Chairman Gil Cox and Exec Director Aaron Jackson, who in turn prepared the written submission that you have received, and our role today is really just to speak to that submission at a relatively high level to give it some context and direction. So I'll lead straight into that given the time available. In doing so, I will touch primarily on two subjects which again are in the written submission. The overall subject of transport and transport infrastructure, and secondly the heading of facilities. Very brief background for those of you who are not aware of the Committee for Canterbury. I think the most important thing I can share with you is that the Committee for Canterbury is very much modelled on the Melbourne initiative. And if any of you have travelled to Melbourne and seen the growth and the prosperity and the vibrancy of the city of Melbourne, particularly over the last 20 to 25 years, that is a direct result of the formation in the early 90s of the Committee for Melbourne and the processes and the engagement they have had with community, with city government, with territorial authorities and state government, and our model follows that closely. So we're not at that stage yet, but that's the background. Founding principles: independent, objective, apolitical, long-term and strategic. We're not interested in working within, short-term electoral confines. Inclusive, and the membership list you will see on the back page of our submission outlines just how inclusive we are. We are probably the only group that can represent and does represent young people, NGOs, community groups, business, large and small. And that's the basis of everything where we come from. Researched, informed and evidence-based. We're not here to push opinions as such. We try to work with facts. Driven by vision and values, and this is an important point I want to emphasise. The vision and the direction of the Committee for Canterbury is built around the concept of the prosperity for the region across social, environmental, cultural and economic aspects. We would all, if we went around the room, we would all define prosperity differently. Some of us would promote some of those over others, but they're all involved. Our roots, we're based on effectively the geography of Canterbury, the whole roots of this province in the whole town and country relationship. So effectively we're city and country, or city and Canterbury. Okay. Transport infrastructure, the points we would like to make to you in support and as an extension of the submission that you have. Whilst the LTP that has been drafted is understood and acknowledged as a City Council document and process, and we fully understand that's what that process is, the point we want to emphasise is that the city in this case, from a transport and infrastructure viewpoint, has also got regional responsibilities which in our view need to be recognised and empowered within the content of the LTP. Put simply, the whole transport plan for this province, which Christchurch is a critical piece of, needs to embrace the movement of goods, people and everything within the city boundaries and beyond. Whether that be the port, the airport, whether it be tourism, whether it be people enjoying the easy access from the city to the mountains or the rivers to fish, wherever their own interests may be. And we fully understand as the Committee for Canterbury that there are a number of other parties involved in that discussion. I'm not asking the City Council, we're not asking to solve all of those issues. NZTA, the Mayoral Forum, other district councils and so on. And the point we would make is that transport itself, we can all sit and debate the future of the car and forms of transport, but there is no doubt that transport in the widest sense of the word, goods, people, electric, petrol, trucks, trains, whatever it may be, transport is vital to those 4 prosperities that I talked about a moment ago. And it's got to be done right, because as a region, which you as the City Council are a key part of, this is a competitive business. If you look at the growth of what's going on in the Waikato, Bay of Plenty, Hawke's Bay, Northland with its new political connections, we are in a competitive business, whether it's for residents, whether it's for lifestyle, whether it's for tourism, whether it's for industry, whether it's for educational growth, whatever. And in that competitive environment, transport, effective transport, is critical. Transport strategy, transport delivery. We get it right, we have a competitive advantage. If we get it wrong, if we're just a gridlock city because the motorways don't flow through into local roads and so on and so forth, we're at a disadvantage. And it's a fast-moving world, particularly with what that other growth is going. So we urge you as a council through our submission to take that leadership role that's necessary, not just within transport planning for the city, but a leadership role within the other forums that underpin that and the other stakeholders. Secondly, with regard to facilities, and I guess this leads into the subject of the stadium, we understand that $250 million or so is allocated to a new stadium in the latter years of the LTP, 2022 to 25, I think. We acknowledge the discussions and the progress that have been made since the drafting of the LTP on the subject of the stadium. The Committee for Canterbury supports the multi-purpose stadium project in principle and the progress being made. We recognise the Minister's support that has been gained, and we recognise the role that the Christchurch City Council has played in helping get it to that point where we are today. With regards to the input from the Committee for Canterbury to you on that subject, we urge everyone, including this room and the council and all of our contacts and networks, to regard it and push that it is a regional asset. This isn't a Christchurch City stadium. This is a regional asset, at least for Canterbury, if not for the South Island. And we won't get into the debate about Dunedin at the moment, but it's certainly a regional asset, and we support you on that, but we need you and we look for you to push that also. We make the point that that stadium, and whatever final multi-purpose format it may have, is a critical part, or certainly a very important part, of what we would call the social prosperity of the region. It's not a stadium in our view for rugby fans, and I know that's, I think, your view as well. It is far wider than that. That's a story and an angle that we should all continue to push. The Committee for Canterbury, through, again, our values and our principles, we will advocate for the debate. We will take a leading role around that debate. We've got it on hold at the moment till we understand a little more the current position of the Minister and government, but we are ready to publicly and engagingly with a number of different stakeholders and viewpoints bring that debate to the fore to help contribute to a consent decision. We are fully prepared as the committee to support the Christchurch City Council's leadership on this issue, on this subject, within other groups and other forums, such as, for example, the mayoral forum across the TLAs of the Canterbury region, because we know there's some variance in opinion there. We are prepared to come in and within that forum, where I think we do have credibility, to also support the role of the Christchurch City Council. At the same time as we do that, we would also, just from a Committee for Canterbury viewpoint and the opportunity we have with you today, to say that the Christchurch City Council, in our view, also needs to show strong and positive leadership on this issue, individually and collectively. Because I think this is an area where we all need to be on the same page and telling and selling the same story for the benefits and the principles that it represents. So, Your Worship the Mayor, thank you for the opportunity. I think I'm just within the 10 minutes, but if there is any time...
You've got 19 seconds to go, but I really wanted to ask about the really kind offer to talk to the rest of the region about the different funding models. So you're not suggesting a funding model, but just to explore the types of models that could be used for funding.
Exactly. We've made the same submission or a similar submission to a number of the other councils, and whether or not we will be presenting to those councils individually, I'm not sure, but whether it's through, like, we will go and seek separate discussions if we need to and present to their regular council meeting. Yeah. But equally, we are more than happy to get involved in the mayoral forum process.
Yeah, and presumably you wanted to do regional transport.
I had a question on transport.
Yeah.
It's really for, just want to know, for obviously to get the transport right across Canterbury, do you support the hierarchy? I guess it goes active transport, public transport, freight, then passenger vehicle.
I've got a view. I guess it'll only be an individual. We don't have a view, I don't think, as a committee. I think, to be quite frank, as a committee, we wouldn't be putting it into hierarchy. I wouldn't be sitting here saying, if I get the clear purpose of your direction of your question, I wouldn't be ranking any one of those over the other. I think they're all important. We would widen the discussion.
I understand that, because I think that the council's got a view city-based, and that's appropriate for the city. But in terms of the region, there are connections between the different districts in the region, and those two the two ports and the airport as well. So, look, thank you very much for your time and effort. We may well be in touch regarding your extremely kind offer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.